Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tracy Johnson, and I'm a business advisor for our firm here at SRJWW. Today, myself and Jessica McCallum are going to be covering single-touch payroll. And basically, my experience is 20 years as a commercial accountant, so I have backgrounds running payrolls, both for small businesses and also national companies with employees at over 1,200 employees nationwide. Jessica is a qualified accountant, and she assists our clients with payroll, bookkeeping, cash flow, maintenance, and helping to transition businesses to cloud accounting. So thank you for your time today. How many in the room here like pay administrators or bookkeepers?
We all are.
You all are? Okay, good. So what is single-touch payroll? So single-touch payroll is basically the next step to move to a more seamless and real-time reporting with the ATO. And it's changing the method of when you actually report your payroll information to the ATO. So it changes it from reporting it at a summary level, like with our monthly and quarterly batch returns. And then at the end of the year, you normally give them the employee-based information, so by employee, the gross wages and POIG. It changes it from that to actually reporting it to the ATO every time you process a pay run. So your pay runs, if you run them on a weekly, fortnightly, or monthly basis, that does not need to change. But what will change is obviously every time you go to the payroll process, you will push a button to report that information directly to the ATO. So initial rollout will commence on July 1st, 2018, and that's for employers with 20 or more employees. So what you need to do is on 1 April 2018, so several weeks ago, you need to go through and see if you have 20 or more employees. I'll go through that later on in the presentation to work through your head count, how you do that. So legislation is expected to be approved in the next few months in the Parliament. That will mean this will roll out to all employers on the 1st of July 2019 that have one or more employees. So I guess they're basically testing it with the larger employers first, fine-tuning it, and then they'll roll out to everyone else. So this is a bit of a graph showing single-touch payroll. So obviously, on the left side, it shows all the different ways you can process your pay, either through your computer, with some of the cloud-based accounting packages you can do by iPad or even by iPhone. So with single-touch payroll, it's going to capture all the end users, so the stakeholders like sending pay slips to employees is going to be addressed. Your salary and wages when they're paid to the bank. Then the payroll data is going to be pushed through to the ATO. And that's going to include tax file numbers when you set up new employees, POIG, and also is going to send your superannuation details every time you do a pay run. There's also going to be an option, I understand, to pay pay-as-you-go withholding payments at the time you process your pay if you choose to voluntarily do that ahead of time. And the future is this platform will be, in the future, the data will be used by the government to basically share that information between agencies, and also in the future share that with state government agencies like workers' comp. So the ATO has this data strategy that they rolled out about 10 years ago. It's called SBR, and that's Standard Business Reporting. And back then they envisioned that they would move everything off of a paper-based, and a more manual way of reporting information to a more streamlined approach, so that they get the data basically from business and disseminate it out to the end users, like the individual taxpayers and things, much more readily, and the super funds. So SuperStream came into compliance a couple years ago, which actually I'm sure everyone in the room really enjoys. So you moved away from having to write out individual checks and things like that, to having a SuperStream platform where you could digitally process your superannuation much more efficiently. My.gov came out 2 to 3 years ago for individual taxpayers, and so each individual taxpayer can log on to my.gov, and you can access various things like Centrelink, Medicare, and also file your tax returns through that my.gov unique identifier website. So single touch payrolls are where we're at now, and that's the next move to further digitize the information that's being reported from business to the ATO, and so that they can get that information much more readily and timely, and use that information to do things like pre-fill your monthly or quarterly lodgements with the wage and withholdings information, and that will reduce your compliance times to actually file your monthly and quarterly BASs. So super funds also, there will be changes too in the works. It's behind the scenes where all your major super funds will be reporting to the ATO initially 14 days after they receive payments from the employer, the super and salary sacrifice information. So that means obviously that they'll get the information much more readily than they do now. And they will be able to check and see that everyone's paying their super on time. And there's continued future development, so they'll continue to reduce hopefully manual payments and processes, and they'll be able to move the data and information much more quickly. So what's going to change with STP? So you'll be, I've reiterated this, but go over it again. So we'll be reporting the wages, super, and tax withheld every pay process, not just at the end of year. And that'll be at a granular level by each one of your employees. Monthly and quarterly BAS returns will be pre-filled with the pay-as-you-go information. So W1 and W2, like gross salaries and tax withheld, will be pre-filled when you go to do those lodgements. And you also will have a time at that point in time, if you need to amend the data, you'll have an opportunity to do that. We'll be phasing out payment summaries. So those payment summaries that you print out at the end of each year, you won't have to do that in the future. What the ATO does recommend is that for the first year, you probably, because people are so used to getting the payment summaries or group certificates as we called it 8 or 10 years ago, that you probably just need to remind everyone, look, this is the last year we're going to do payment summaries, because otherwise you'll probably have 30% of your workforce maybe asking for them at the end of the year. So by the time you ask, you might as well just maybe print them out and just maybe put a letter in there and say, last year we're going to be doing payment summaries. I encourage you to set up your my.gov individual access through the ATO, and in future you can get your payment summaries through there. But also every time you process a pay, the wage information will be updated on their my.gov access point. And also when you make super payments, they'll be able to access that through my.gov too. So tax file number declarations. So when you onboard new employees, right now you have to fill out the forms and send them in. That's going to be a much more seamless process. I don't have all the details yet, but what they're saying that you'll be able to basically complete an electronic form that's passed from your individual employer to their my.gov site. They'll be able to send you their information through that, so that it'll be much more seamless. So they'll be able to tell you, they'll send you the form and say, here's my tax file number, my names, my date of birth, elect what they do now, whether they entitled to the tax-free threshold and things like that. So, and obviously the changes will reduce BAS preparation time and the time it takes to onboard new people. So that's going to be good. So what is not different? What's not going to change with STP? So payment obligations haven't changed. So the due dates that you have currently, whether you're on monthly or quarterly payments for BAS, PAYG, the due dates still remain the same. And also for superannuation guarantee payments, they're still due on the 28th day after the quarter ends. And in fact, I'd just encourage you that if you miss those dates from time to time, make sure you don't do it with the new reporting mechanism, because they will be able to get that information and penalize you. So right now the process is, if you miss the 28th day, unless it falls on a weekend day, you're supposed to make your payments directly to the ATO, and there's penalties that apply. Now, I think in the past, I don't think they really police that, but they will be able to do that now with the data. So I encourage you to make sure you don't miss those payment dates for Super Guarantee. Your existing channels that you have with SuperStream and small business clearinghouses will still exist, and they're not going to change. So existing super charges, guarantee charges still apply if you have not paid your employee super contributions on time. So the ATO has said like the first 12 months, and this is similar to what they did with the GST back in 2000, they're going to take a real supportive role to help businesses to come on board with the new reporting. So they're going to help you, like if you miss a few reporting dates, or you're struggling with the information, or you send data through and it's not quite right, like when you set up your allowances, gross wages and things like that. You can correct that, or they might help you. They're not going to be penalizing you for making mistakes. Obviously, if people continue to miss the reporting deadlines and you're obligated to do that, then they may consider assessing some type of penalty if they work out that you're purposely just not doing the right thing. There's a few law changes right now in fall Parliament that they reckon will go through. And from 1 July, employers cannot reduce their ordinary time earnings of an employee by any salary sacrifice super contribution amounts. Some employers are doing this to basically reduce the base salary and their tax rates by changing the package up so people can salary sacrifice, get a lower tax rate, do super. And so the law changes are going to capture that, so that you basically won't be able to do that in the future. And on July, make sure that when you're reporting your superannuation through STP, it will not only be the super guarantee, it'll also be any salary sacrificed amounts in the super. So the steps to ensure that you're ready for the STP rollout. Now, one thing I didn't cover is if you have less than 20 employees, if you have less, you can voluntarily start reporting this early if you wish. So the first thing you do is count your employees as of April 1st, 2018. So you need to look at 2 weeks ago, and you go into a head count. So what's included in that head count is any casual staff that are on your books at the time that worked during the period of March, any permanent part-timers, full-timers, and any employees you have on contract overseas. Now, this is any employee head count, not FTE, like full-time equivalent. So if a casual works 5 hours, they're still considered one employee. Now, directors and secretaries that are paid through your payroll, they're counted too as an employee. However, they have clarified recently that not-for-profits where they have directors or secretaries that are non-paid, in other words, they volunteer, you don't need to count them as employees. Next thing, obviously, is really important to make sure you're ready, is just check with your software provider, either through their website or give them a call if they don't have clear information on their website to see when they're going to be ready. So when Jess comes up in a minute, she will talk through a few of the majors that are already rolling out software updates so you can see what's happening. But what you want to ensure is that like some of the specialized software providers may be a bit slow, and I understand some of them have already asked for deferrals if they're not ready on 1 July, so it may be that they think they'll be ready on the 30th of September. So if that software provider's asked for a deferral, you still need to go in and actually, and I'll talk to you in a minute about file for a deferral, how to do that. You still need to, as an individual business, to make sure you file for that deferral yourself. because the tax office won't know if it's SAPs, for instance, and they're not going to be ready. They won't know who all their business clients are. So you need to go through and set up and review your payroll information, and there is a setup process that Jess will show you in a minute. Make sure it's accurate. You have all your information in there for tax file numbers. Because normally this is a process too. At the end of the year, you do when you're getting ready for your payment summary and sending your files to the ATO. A lot of people go through and go, oh, that's not in the right spot. I better move this here, or oh, I set up that new allowance code during the year and it's not quite right, so I better move it around so that it's in the right spot on the payment summary. So you need to do that in advance before 1 July this year. So applying for deferrals with the ATO. So there is a deferral opportunity there, and it's on the ATO website. By the way, the ATO website, if you haven't had a chance to look, they have a whole section on STP. So you can go in there, there's really good checklists and things like that you can refer to. And they're constantly revising the information as they get questions about it. So if you find out your software provider is not going to be ready, or you may find out your software providers may just make the deadline, but it's going to allow you no time to get set up, you should go ahead and in advance and ask for a deferral. Maybe don't do it like way in advance, but maybe wait till 1 June so that you kind of know that it doesn't seem like, well, I can't make it. It's 3 months out. I won't be able to make it, but I would encourage you to probably do it by 1 June to file for deferral. So the ATO will consider any deferrals on a case-by-case basis. So obviously this covers any businesses that maybe are in administration or liquidation, so they're going through an administration where the business is being looked at and it may continue to trade. But obviously when those things happen, a lot of things are unknown, so they'll give you a deferral for that. If you have a business that's been impacted by a natural disaster such as flooding, cyclones, or fire, you can apply for that. And obviously, like we covered again, if your software provider is going to have a deferred start date, you can request a deferral yourself, and you must do that. If you're transitioning too, if you find out your software is not going to be compliant, or it's an old desktop product, and you go, well, look, it's time, I need to move to something different, and you can ask for a deferral for that. If you're using like a customized payroll solution, especially with some large national companies that have specialized payroll solutions, you need time to configure and test and update your product. You can ask for a deferral. If you have complex payroll arrangements or effectively in your circumstances which are out of your control, so like, I don't know, if there's an illness or sickness, or there's something going on in your company that's extraordinary, then you can apply. So look, I'll turn over to Jess McCallum now, and she's going to go through in a bit more granular detail about software providers and give you a few good examples on the screen with Xero and MIV to show you how you can start getting set up.
Thank you. So I'll just quickly go through the software providers and give a bit of update on where they're at. So yeah, like Tracy said, touch base with them, give them a call, check on their website. Most websites, like MyOb and Xero, they've provided quite a bit of information. This website here just listed, they've got a lot of payroll software providers that have registered with ATO and said that they're ready, but I found that they're very specialised payroll software systems at the moment. So just a quick update on MyOb. MyOb account live, the 2018.1 version. On that, it's almost complete. You can download that version there and go through and do all your pre-setups. I found with MyOb and Xero, they're close to completion. They're still working with the ATO, so it might be a tight finish before 1st of July. But you can still go in and check all your employee information and get set up for when it's go live, and you can click the button and it will report to the ATO. They're just quite not there with that third step. the MyOb website has lots of step-by-step information on how to go through the tasks and check your employee and company information. That's things like your addresses, ABN, phone number, company details. And then task 2 is to assign reportable payroll categories. I did review these. These are very similar to the payroll categories that you'd report on your payment summary statements at the end of the year. So you have to go through and assign those, which is on the next slide. So once you're in payroll in the 2018.1.1 version, you'll go into the payroll reporting tab, which selects in red. In there, it'll pop up with the payroll company information, and that's where you can go to get ready for the new rollout. So in the check payroll details, for example, on the right hand side here, this company, it's just a bit of a dummy company, but the business name, ABN address hasn't been filled in. And then when you go into step 2, the payroll categories, all these tabs up here and down here have to be assigned with an ATO payroll category. So they're very similar to the categories that you would have assigned when reporting your payment summary statements at the end of the year. 0, same, review and update your organisation details and all your employee details. Make sure they've got TFNs assigned, date of birth, full names, residential addresses. When I went onto the Xero website, they suggested this is how it will look. So you still process it in the same way. You'll click on the payroll tab, process pay run. Once you have processed your pay run, there'll be a button here that you'll be able to file, but I can't see what that looks like just yet because they haven't completed the rollout. So if you are on a desktop software package, it's unlikely that it will support single touch payroll. I called MyOb about version 19 and to see if they were going to upgrade it. They said that they would like to, but they're not sure how it will work and that it won't be ready before 1st of July 2018. So yeah, if your software provider isn't ready, file for a deferral. There's a grace period from the ATO that they won't be giving penalties within the first 12 months. So if you have any troubles processing your payroll through the STP and sending your information to the ATO, they'll likely be very nice. And we can always assist you with any setup problems or processing the pay runs. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And obviously, too, if you need help with your setups or any information, just give us a call, myself or Jess. We can come out and assist you, too, on site if you need that assistance. So thank you very much for coming this afternoon. I'm going to open up a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Do you know if Reckon is ready? Will be ready?
Reckon QuickBooks?
Well, it's not QuickBooks, it's Reckon.
Yeah.
We're on the cloud.
Reckon one. Jess?
They have some information on their website, but they're still working alongside with the ATO to complete. Yeah, I think it will be a tight finish between MyOb, Xero and Reckon for that complete stage. MyOb seems to be further along than Reckon and Xero, but yeah, I'm sure there'll be more information released shortly on their websites, yeah.